Hello everyone, welcome to another Workflow Wednesday. Thank you for joining myself, Fusion Phil over here at CAD-CAM for our part 2 of our post edits on displaying things like stock size, origin location, and possibly work offsets depending on how you look at that. So let's go ahead and dive in and see what we have going on here. So if you haven't watched my first video, I do recommend all of you go watch it because you're going to be able to get everything and copy and pasted into here that we put in our last video, as well as understand why and what we're doing here. So the first thing I'm going to look at is we did this based off of posting out some generic G code. A lot of you guys sent me messages and had tons of questions about this. The first most important one that I kind of heard was, hey, when I post out from Fusion, even though I'm in inch, it still dumps my stock in millimeters. So as you guys can see here is we are still actually posting out millimeter type increments. So let's fix that before anything else. So again, as I'm going to double click the line that I want a couple of times to get to where we wrote that comment for our stock size. Now, this is actually a relatively easy fix. All I need to do here is I'm going to go ahead and throw brackets around stock length. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put a divide by 25.4 inside of that. And upon hitting save, what you're going to notice is it's now given me a ridiculous decimal. Again, because it's a metric number being divided by 25.4. The good news is this is how I can convert from inch over to millimeters. Again, for most of you out there, you're probably doing your stock in inch if you're in the US. In Canada, like myself, again, if you guys need help with this, feel free to reach out to me. But for the rest of the world, you could actually leave it as millimeters. Now, I'm going to do this a few more times here. Again, we're going to do another 25.4 divided. Again, remembering to put our brackets outside of what we are actually doing the math on. And I do have to say, if any of you guys know a better way to do any of this, feel free to reach out to me so I can update this video for the rest of everybody else. Obviously, it's not a good way to go in and throw brackets in the wrong spots like you saw me do there. But let's go ahead and finish out this last one. Again, hitting save. And as you can see now, we have 3 sets of numbers that are just massive decimals because of the conversion. Now, this was the next thing that a lot of guys came back to me and said, hey, you know, I want to shrink this up. Or if you're spitting out full numbers outside of Fusion, it'll actually come in as that whole number in your stock field. Now, just to make life easy, let's do a precautionary thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually set a format to these numbers so that they only display things like 3 decimals or 4 decimals, depending on what you're doing. So again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and pull up that same exact area. So let's go ahead and double click. Now I'm down here where we started creating all of our variables, as well as when we write our comment using our variables for Fusion 360. So what I'm going to do is right up here at the top, I'm actually going to add my own variable, which is going to be a stock, or not a stock, but a format. So we're going to say variable, and this is going to be stock format. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do our equal sign. And then this is where you actually have to either steal it from somewhere else in the program. I can't seem to hit an equal sign today, I guess. Or you could, again, copy this from down below. So we're going to create format. And we're going to go ahead and throw brackets up. Man, it almost is like a Monday, not a Wednesday here. So again, we're going to go ahead and add a few more things here, and then we're going to go decimal. And we would like that to be 3 decimals. And then we're going to do a comma, and we're going to force decimal. And we're going to go ahead and say true. So now that we've had that all added in, we can go ahead and use that format. So to test this out, we're going to go ahead and hit save again, and you're going to notice we went ahead and caused an error, and that error is because yours truly did something wrong. So create format is not defined, right? So we went ahead and created our stock format, right? We're just not utilizing stock format. So now how do we utilize it? So we're going to come down here, and as you can see on this line, we have our stock size, correct? So what we need to do is we actually need to say, outside of the brackets, stock format dot format, and hit save. And what that is going to do is that is going to actually crash our post a second time because we have an error at 1988. And let's go ahead and scroll up and see what that error is. So again, is even the best of us have these problems at the end of the day when we go ahead and create something that we're forgetting something simple. And one of you guys out there are probably going to scream it and shout it in the chat that, hey, you're forgetting this, you're forgetting that. Let's take a double look here. And just like that, I see what we did is yours truly can't spell words correctly. So let's go ahead and fix that. And just like that, we have now adjusted it. So I apologize there. You guys are wondering why I spliced that video. It was because I had to get out the old dictionary and relearn how to spell the word format. But as you can see, by swapping the O and the R, again, I'm good at math, guys. This is why I'm a machinist. I'm not good at spelling. By swapping the O and R and hitting save again, we have now created that format right here. So as you can see, it has now limited our decimal to 3 decimal places based on that formatting that we've plugged in. So again, as we can do the same thing with the other two. So again, we have our X, our Y, and our Z. I'm just going to do a copy paste. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now you can see that we went ahead and did a cut, not a paste. So let's put that back in the first one also. You can now see all 3 sets of our numbers are limited to 3 decimals inside of Fusion 360's post. So if you're spitting out items, again, maybe you're using a CNC router and you're doing everything in millimeters because that's the way your router is. I have one of those routers. However, I want to know my stock size in inch because that's the nominal sizes that I get my material in. We could actually convert that right there at that level. So now let's start to dive into something a little bit different here. So another thing that was asked is based on that is you guys have kind of seen now how I have created the ability to dump out the stock size, right? So we now know the stock size, we have that ability to control it. But what I want to do now is I want to spit out things like where is the origin? Where is my operator, or where am I going to set my work offset inside of my part? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and jump back down to our lines of code. Now, what I'm going to do for this is we're going to go ahead and start to add more information below this line, right? So we have stock size. Now we're going to call our origin. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say if, and with that if statement, we're going to go ahead and say stock lower X, and we're going to add stock upper X. And I believe there is a typo in here somewhere, and we'll run into that. Equals 0. And the reason why we're doing this is in the event that we're on center, and we are on center, so you guys know we still have this displayed here as the -50 and the +50. We add these two numbers together, we should end up with 0. And if we end up with 0, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and write comment. And that comment is going to be center. And we're actually going to make this a word, so we have to go ahead and add a few more details to this. And now we can go ahead and hit save. And what you're going to notice again is we went ahead and crashed our post because stock lower X is not defined, which means yours truly again is having some typo problems. So we need lower X. Oh, that's why. Okay, not a problem. We can go ahead and adjust. So we need to do stock L, not stock lower. There we go. So in this case, I was thinking of something else that I did in another post processor. We called it stock lower, stock upper. And you'll see why we do that here in a minute. But now you could see lower X plus upper X equals 0, which means we need to write the word center, right? So again, this is where we have the ability to add more and more detail. Now, I would like to add more nomenclature to this. And what that nomenclature will be is we're going to go ahead and come over here and we're going to add another variable. And what this variable is going to be is x0. And we're going to say x0 equals, if I can find the equals key, there it is. Nope, there it is. And what we want is a word. And what that word is going to be is x0. Again, kind of funny to say it with spaces and capital one way and then put it all in lower cases put together. But again, what I'm doing here is I'm just defining reusable terms now. So we go back down to where we wrote center, and this is where I can put in x0. And from that x0, what I'm going to go ahead and write is plus center. And we're going to go ahead and hit save. Again, as what you're seeing here is it's saying x0 center. This is all very smushed together at the end of the day. You guys could do, again, this is very common where you come in and you add another set of brackets in here, a space, a second set of brackets, and then a plus sign. I cannot hit that plus sign for my life today. And we hit save, and as you're seeing now is we've now spaced x0 center, right? So we have done that based on if 0, meaning we're between negative and a positive that is the same number that add together equals 0, we're going to populate center. Now, we need to do this, though, in the case that it's a left or a right as well. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and add a few more pieces of detail here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and now put in else if. And what that's going to allow us to do is we're now able to put in, again, more information. So this time, if lower x, we're going to go ahead and hit double equals 0, meaning when we look at that lower x is the stock lower location. Then what we're going to do is we're going to write comment. Oh, there we go. Let's back that up. And then that comment is going to be, again, we're going to reuse x0 as our output. And then we're going to add in, again, we could add in our space. And then we're going to add again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put in left, right? And we do need that to just be a word and not a variable. So we're going to go ahead and put that in brackets. Now, what you guys are going to see is this is where we can't really test this in the post because we can't move our origin. Now, we could go back to Fusion and we could post this out. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use a variable that I know of that is in that location to temporarily test this, right? So if you look here in our code, we do have our Z top and our Z bottom, which does not add together and equal 0, which means our origin in Z is either at the top of our part or the bottom of our part. So that's where I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, you know, instead of x0, actually not x0, I apologize, lower x, we're going to say lower Z, and I'm going to hit save. And now you notice nothing has changed because that math prior to it is actually interrupting it. So again, I would have to change the Z up here as well. And again, we're going to go ahead and hit save. And now you're going to notice nothing populates. And the reason why nothing populates is because we have a condition for on center and we have a condition for the left. Technically, in this case, it would be the top or the bottom. So I need to create one more else if statement to generate the third area to be able to populate that. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to steal this whole block of code here. We're going to do a real quick copy and paste. I'm going to paste that in. And this is actually going to now become upper Z. And again, we're going to go ahead and let's change this out. So this is actually going to be bottom. And this guy right here is going to be top. Let's go ahead and hit save and see what we get. So as you're seeing here, again, because we did define an x0, but I'm using the Z callouts, is we are now getting a top callout versus a bottom or a center callout, right? And that's very easy to control. And we could actually stack this up just about as much as we want. I'm also going to jump back to Fusion and we're going to use the actual x-axis now to populate this information to make sure everything is good. So again, we're going to go ahead and hit save. We're now x0 center. I'm going to pull up Fusion 360 and let's go ahead and post some things out to play around with this. So as you can see, we are x on center right now. So I'm going to change my origin. We're going to go ahead and go to the left side of our part. I am now remembering here real quick, guys, as we are still calling out top, bottom. So let's go ahead and post process. We're actually going to switch back to that Fanic post, and I'm going to edit that one more time because we don't want to be bottom. We're using the x-axis, so we're going to say left. And we're going to change the other one to right. And there we go. We'll go ahead and hit save this time. And now we can post out. So as I post out, you guys are going to see this G code is populated. Our x0 is on the left side of our part. Again, that's X0 on the stock is the left side of our part. So again, as we're using the stock edge, right? And we can define whether or not we're using stock or whether or not we're actually using the model now as well. So there will be limits on what you all can do with this, as you guys are going to find out. Now, the limits is if you put your origin in a weird location, you're just not going to know where that is. However, as you're seeing me post code, we did originally put out what is called stock size. And that stock size, based on those fields that are populating, actually tells you the origin in reference to the stock size. Now, again, if you wanted to get more technical with this, and I understand that a lot of you do, is we can actually go a little bit further than this, because instead of using lower X and upper X, we could define stock versus model, right? And how we're going to do that is we're actually going to go out and we're going to recreate more and more variables here. So I need to go back up to my variable list, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say stock lower, stock upper. And now what I do need on top of that is I am going to have to create two more. And to utilize these guys, we're going to go ahead and steal those. We're going to add those in. And now what I want is a part lower and a part upper, right? So now we're setting these all up to be utilized so that we're calling out whether it's a part or a stock. And all I'm doing is very simply changing the word stock here between these two so that we populate the right information. Again, upper X is not defined. Remember, we actually failed because we didn't give this an upper X anymore. We're now using a stock lower X and a stock upper Y. I apologize. Stock lower and stock upper X. Both are in the X defined. So we're going to go ahead and hit save now. Again, we're still having problems. Upper X is not defined at 1955. Let's go ahead and scroll up. We have our 1995. Again, we need to change this guy here, which is going to be now stock. And this is the great thing about Fusion and the way they have built this is the fact that you can do this on your own at your end, that you can plug in any information that you need. And when you cause errors like that, it's automatically populating that. So as you can see here, we now have the ability to go in and create based on our stock, right? So I'm going to show you guys another trick here. And this is what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we are going to define a couple more variables here. And I'm going to leave a space. So this variable will be stock. And again, I'm just doing this to make life easier when we start to copy and paste everything and build out all of them. And then our next one is going to be variable part. Again, we're going to hit equals. There we go. And this one will be part. Need to go ahead and throw this in brackets. Actually, we won't need brackets for this. So we're going to go ahead and hit save here real quick. Cool. So we haven't crashed our post since adding those variables in. And now let's get a little bit more fancy with this and add in a few more pieces of information. So now we have our X0, and then we did actually set up to do a space, then center. Now, what I'm going to do is we're actually going to say, you know, this is now stock, right? And again, we're going to add our plus sign. We're going to add our space. And then we're going to add another plus sign. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit save. So what you're going to see now is our X0 is stock center, right? Now, had we not said stock and we say model here, or not model, but part, and hit save, now you're noticing that it's going to say X0 part center. Now we need to add a few more conditions to this to get it to pull one over the other. So we're going to go ahead and plug stock back in there. Again, I'm going to go ahead and grab this chunk of code because we would like this to populate almost everywhere. So let's do a little copy paste magic. And one more time. And then in my opinion, now this is up to all of you, is we could redo the conditions here, but stock lower minus stock upper, as well as part lower, part upper is always going to return 0. So in my opinion of this, I actually don't call out anything if the part is going to be on center, right? Because it's center of the material or center of the model. Now you guys could leave that and you could obviously duplicate that condition here and say part lower plus part upper equals 0, it would then populate the other. But let's add our next condition. So again, we're going to do an else if. And what we want is to write comment. As most of you are probably guessing, yes, we could have did some copy and paste here, but we're going to go ahead and take our part lower x equals 0. We're actually going to double equals here with a 0. Oh, I am a little backwards. So we actually have to give it, yep, okay, we're good. So write comment. We're going to go ahead and say part 0 equals. Actually, I'm backwards, guys. Give me 1 sec here. All right, so I am backwards. My brain is not working quite right this morning. I apologize a ton. I have not got a lot of coffee in. As a matter of fact, where is my coffee? Let's grab a drink here. This is also the perfect time to tell you guys that we have crossed 1,000 subscribers and decided on what we're giving away. So we are going to give away a commercial seat of Fusion plus 1 year of our top tier support. Now, anybody qualifies for this. If you're already a commercial user, we will actually help you with purchasing and extending your contract out another year. Now, we're giving away 3 different levels of things. They're all about the same. So that first level, of course, is a license. You're going to get our top tier support. And then, as I like to say, you're probably going to get a shirt that doesn't fit. And I will need to know your shirt size. They are some awesome polos. Now, the second giveaway is just going to be our top tier support and a shirt. And then our third giveaway is somebody's going to get just a plain old polo t-shirt that we utilize here at CAD-CAM. I want to thank you guys again for all the subscribers. But let's go ahead and dive right back in this. So, obviously, again, I'm having a rough morning making this video. But what we want is part lower x equals 0. And we're going to write a comment now, and that comment is going to be based on x0, right? Because that's the terminology we're going to use. We're going to add in our space again. Me and that addition key today, I tell you guys. So we're going to go ahead and add again. We're going to say this is going to be part. And then once again, we're going to go ahead and add in another space. And one last time, we're going to go ahead and say left, right? So the lower side is the left side, the upper side is the right side. And we need that to be an actual word. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit save. Again, you're not going to see anything happen. We're going to go ahead and do the right side also here real quick, just so we have it. And I believe there is a few more changes I will need to make. So we're going to actually say part upper X. And then this will be right. And then we do need to still fix these upper callouts. So this should be stock upper. This should be stock lower. Again, we're going to hit save. We're going to cross our fingers that we didn't cause any problems. And I'm going to go back to Fusion 360 and we're going to go ahead and test that out. So again, we are based on the model left. So let's go ahead and post. Just verify those changes. And as you can see, we're calling X0 is stock left, right? So that works for the left side. Now, again, looking at my stock size, again, I'm using full numbers here in inch. So you got 3, 4, and 1. So that block size is 3 inch by 4 inch by 1 inch. So let's go back one more time and let's change to the model. And again, we're going to go ahead and go to model box point. Now we're moved into our model. Edge is 0. Again, I need to regenerate my tool paths, and let's post this out. So if everything worked properly, our X0 is now the part left-hand side, right? So again, you can rearrange these to any way you want. You guys can change your own nomenclature. I'm making it very simple to put this information inside of this post. Now we've done everything for X, and to say the least, to do Y and Z is going to be nothing more than a copy and paste and changing out all the X's and all the Y's. Keep in mind, guys, you do need to add, obviously, the additional variables. So we did make our variable stock lower and part lower and upper all up top to be able to utilize and segregate between the two. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Keep in mind that if you want help with this at any time, I'm also going to copy and paste a lot of this down into this video. Now, you're going to need some of that information from the other video as well so that you have it for your own records. But as always, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. As well, have a great rest of your day.